I cleared this whole plate without getting anything on the sweatshirt.
You did get something on it. It's right there, buddy. We had 3 chicken breasts. We're gonna turn this into 6 very thin cutlets. All right, so I have everything here, and you can see it's how you need a lot of room. There's chicken cutlets, flour, egg, our breadcrumb mixture, and then where we're going to put them on the parchment paper right here. Season the cutlets with salt and pepper. Now you can put salt and pepper a good amount in this flour here, and that will kind of skip that step, but I actually prefer just to get the salt and pepper on the chicken. Now do the same thing with your pepper. If you got 4 forks, this would be a good time to use them. You know, if you're doing a few cutlets like I am, you can just use 1 fork. If you're gonna do like 5-6 pounds of cutlets, it actually makes it a lot easier. I just put the chicken in there. Now I have my other fork right here. And listen, when you do this, guys, with the flour, you're gonna have some flour that gets not used. Once this chicken goes into the flour, you can't take this flour and put it back into your flour container. All right, so when you get it in the flour, you can shake off all the excess, like completely like that. I'm just gonna leave that fork there. Now I'm gonna put it in the egg. Get it well coated with the egg on both sides, or just if you got a deep bowl like I do here, you can kind of submerge it all, which is what I'm doing. And then the breadcrumbs, I like this like a tray like this. You know, if I had multiple ones of these, it would be easier just to set them all up like this. Okay, let this drip, let it all, like the excess drip off, then lay it right down. I can kind of go like this initially to really coat it. Fork down, shake it again right now so it all fills the bottom. Plop it down, and then shake it again. You know, you gotta use a little bit of breadcrumb here too. You might use a little bit more than you need. With that, you can save them for a little bit and just label it for chicken cutlets, put it in the fridge. Or if you got like a vegetable on hand and you have extra breadcrumbs and you have extra egg, flour, everything, just fry that up too because you'll have the oil. So here's our nice cutlet, and I'm gonna lay it down right on my parchment paper, and that'll make it really easy frying. So let's do it for the next 6. Obviously we have vodka here, 4 ounces of vodka for 1 can of tomatoes. 4 ounces of wine, and that's kind of my secret trick to making it taste better. A little bit of tomato paste we'll put in there, exactly 3 ounces. 1 28-ounce can of Sclafani tomatoes. Sclafani doesn't sponsor me. They're good tomatoes, so I have no problem recommending them to you. A little bit of Pecorino Romano. We'll save a little bit also to top our cutlets when we put it in the oven later on. Sliced about 3 cloves of garlic, and we diced 1 medium onion. You also have 1.5 cups of heavy cream. So that's pretty much it for the vodka sauce. We also have that mozzarella that we grated. Now, I did a pound. We're not gonna need that much probably for the amount of cutlets we have. You just save this, put it in a bag or whatnot. We're not gonna use the big pan today. We don't need to, not for our sauce anyway. Medium low to start. Just gonna put a couple tablespoons of olive oil down here. Doesn't have to be exact. Nothing has to be exact, guys. You know that, I'm always telling you that. It really is the case. Do the onions first. Let the onions get a little soft before we put the garlic in. They've been going for about 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes, and they're a little bit translucent, as you can see. Put the garlic in. So as you can see, this garlic has a little bit of color on it, just a little bit. It can go about 1 more minute. All right, that's good. I'm gonna put that paste in, which was about half the can, maybe a little bit less. You don't have to measure this either. I believe that making exact measurements when you're cooking is gonna do a couple things. It's gonna make you not a good cook. You're never gonna learn how to cook. This isn't baking. The other thing is, it's gonna make it not fun for you. And if it's not fun, you're not gonna wanna do it. I'm gonna let this paste fry out for about 5 minutes. It's gonna get into the oil. It's gonna really just get that deep flavor coming out of it. so the paste has been going for about 5 minutes, and I'm gonna get our vodka and our wine in there. Half a cup. You turn the heat up high now, or medium high, and then we'll do a half a cup of wine as well. It's gonna reduce very, very quickly. The alcohol is gonna burn off. You're gonna be left with barely anything. So after 2 minutes, lower it down. It's gonna look kind of like that. One thing I forgot is if you want hot red pepper in here, you wanna put it in with the garlic and the onion. But if you forget, like I did, you can put it in now. About that much. It was about a quarter to a half a teaspoon. And here's the cream. All right, so I'm about medium low here. I'm about a 4 out of 10. Pour that in. Well, I'm really losing it now, guys. I forgot the tomatoes. Now listen, this isn't gonna matter. This will be fine. It's just that paste that you wanna fry in the oil. You wanna put your tomatoes in before the cream, let it simmer a little bit, then you can get your cream in. Even though I screwed it up, it's totally fine and it's delicious. I'm gonna lower it down. Here's how it looks right now, okay? I'm gonna add a little bit of cheese. Maybe a couple tablespoons of the Pecorino. Mix that in. I use Pecorino most of the time over Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. I like Parmigiano Reggiano just to eat by itself, but I don't like to use it too much for pastas. And again, it's a fairly common thing here. You know, most people think locatelli is a cheese. They don't know that that's a brand, but it's so what's the right word? Ubiquitous in the New York, New Jersey area. A few brands that would basically would be New York. So locatelli, all right, Polio, Boar's Head. Those brands would be like brands that people have been using forever. That's so good. It needs just a touch of salt, about a half a teaspoon. You can take this off to the side, you can cover it, or you can keep it at a very low simmer. If you want it a little thicker than this, keep it at a low simmer and it'll thicken up. We're gonna use the big pan. Now, you could also use a cast iron. This pan is larger than my largest cast iron. Either way, it's gonna take 2 batches. If I was using a 12-inch pan here, it would take 3 batches to fit those cutlets. So I'm gonna do about medium heat. That doesn't really help you. You need to get your oil to roughly 350 to 370 degrees Fahrenheit. And you wanna pour in enough oil to adequately fry the bottom of it. You don't have to have a ton of oil in here, but you do need enough, probably about 3/4 inch to an inch. I'm using vegetable oil. I save this, so what you can do is you can strain your oil and you can use it another time. You can put it in here, you can mark strained on it. If it's too dirty, then you could also dispose of it in here. So save this either way. I think the oil's hot enough. There's a couple ways you can check it if you don't have an oil thermometer. You put this in here, and you'll get very tiny bubbles like I'm getting there. The other thing you can do is cut off a little piece of the chicken, which is what I did. Pop it in, see how it does? And that looks good. I think we're ready for frying here. All right, whenever you put a cutlet down, don't put it towards you. That's not good, you don't wanna do that. I'm gonna put it away from me. It's gonna take about 3 to 4 minutes per side. If you're using a smaller pan, you're gonna have to do 3 batches, hopefully not 4 batches. But that's the thing, you know, you pound out a cutlet thin, it gets really big even when you don't have a lot of chicken. It's been about 3 minutes. Let's see how they look. Looks pretty good. Those are nice and golden. Do another 3 minutes. At this time, you can set your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit and set the rack towards the top third of the oven. That's what we're gonna use to bake the vodka sauce chicken parm. All right, it's been about another 3 minutes. And that looks great. We have our beautiful cutlets here, and they're really just good like this. I mean, you don't really need to do much else. but we're gonna make it better or different, and we're gonna use our vodka sauce. All right, so here's my sauce, and I had it on the burner on probably like a level 3 or maybe even a level 2, and thickened up a little bit. There's the consistency of it. This is gonna be great. I have some basil here. It's not the best basil, but that's okay. So I'm just gonna put a little bit in here. You don't have to do this. You don't need it, but all right, mix that in there. Smell that right away. And I'm gonna take about a spoon's worth. I'm gonna have a lot of extra sauce here. So if you wanna make pasta, that would be great. And I just used the vodka sauce recipe that's gonna be linked, which is the one that's on my site. You can definitely have this if you just want this, but you might want a lot more sauce, because I like to serve it with a lot more sauce afterwards, after I keep them fairly crispy like this. So I used about a half of it, so if you're keeping count and you do the exact same amount of cutlets I did, you're gonna need only about a half a pound of mozzarella. I'm gonna take the remaining pecorino. Oh, that's a chunk, that's a chunk. And I'm gonna put about a teaspoon worth on each piece. Just a little bit. So we have our oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and we have the rack set to the top third of the oven. Since these cutlets are fairly warm, they're only gonna need a few minutes to melt this cheese, and then we can broil the last 30 to 60 seconds. All right, let's get this in the oven. Oh, by the way.
Vodka sauce.
I know, and have you ever had this before? Vodka sauce? Yeah.
I've had vodka sauce.
Oh, I know that, yeah. You probably had vodka sauce 100 times in your life, right?
Yeah, I just haven't had this.
But not this. Why don't you take a bite? Let me know what you think.
What is this, mozzarella?
Yep.
It's good.
What do you think, buddy?
The silver play button. It's crazy to have like this much money in my hands.
It's not worth any money. It's sentimental. It's thanks to you guys that I got to this point, and to my family and everybody who helps me out a ton. My wife especially, she's in the background. She never comes on camera, but she helps me a lot too. I actually believe now that I can get to 1 million. What do you think, buddy?
I think so.
Special thanks to Patreon producers Chris Whalen, Steve Winitsky, Paul Walter Hauser, Elizabeth Shaw, Joe Hardage, John Andolino, Kenneth Parker, Matt Fisher, Richard C., Tom Bronca, Mike Tamburino, Matthew Amore, Richard P. Bourne-Vanek, Matt Gramke, and Alex Eckelberry.
Yeah, I wanted to like do it again because I did the last video. It's not that bad.